All right, well, so let's dive into the Flutter UI widget. All right, the very first widget we're going to talk about is something very special. It may not call it a widget, and it's kind of a combination of both widget and layout, but we kind of already went through this one last time. All right, so here is a new application I just built. I restarted the project. This is a brand new app with the sample code. We already talked about this code sample template here. Basically, very simple app with this floating button that you click on it and then increase the number, right? So from now on, we're gonna focus on the UI part, right? So the first element we're gonna talk about is something called a scaffold. Okay, we already kind of briefly mentioned this a couple of lessons ago. So Scaffold, you will see this very often, and this is a very commonly used kind of a UI component in the Flutter framework. Okay, it follows Google's material design, and it gives you a lot of this commonly used layout and widgets. All right, so basically every screen, okay, let's come back to this class here called a page state class. We kind of talked about this one last time, that the page state controls all the details about the page, the data, the UI part. And all the UI has been specified in this method called build. And build is just going to return what the UI will look like. So all the UI stuff, the element will be created as objects like this, and then being returned from this method. And then the Flutter framework take this return and is going to render this one on the actual device. So what is Scaffold? Okay, let's look at the documentation. So I go back to Google. Anything about a Flutter element, you should be able to easily find that out in Google search. So I do Flutter and Scaffold. All right, so you can find the very first link. Now this one kind of talk about this basic usage, give you different examples. So what Scaffold is a kind of a default layout plus component type of UI element you can use that has all the basic setup. For example, the title bar, some kind of body area, and also you got a floating button. And there are also other things, right? So that's why I come back here, and you can see the Scaffold, and then inside Scaffold you have a bunch of parameters. So if you remember the basic Dart discussion we had, Scaffold basically is a class, right? So you call this class, and then this one here is basically just like a new Scaffold, even though you can ignore new in Dart, right? So, but this is creating a new object of Scaffold. And then this is calling the constructor. So the constructor takes a bunch of parameters. One is called app bar. So you specify the parameter's name, app bar, and then on the right hand side, you actually do specify this app bar object using the app bar class. You got a body, that's where you see all the screen information. Eventually, you also have a floating action button, right? That's why you see three components right here on your app, right? So action, app bar, body area, and also the floating action button. And I kind of already showed you. So for example, I started to make some changes here, right? So the app bar, right? Right now it shows the title. The title is basically title we got from the constructor, right? So I can basically modify this. I can say that, okay, the text is, I will just add some new extra text here. So update date title. All right, I add a little text, and I'm gonna click on the button to hot load this one here. You will see that this area has been changed. The text been changed because I modified this text right here in the constructor. Or you might think, you know, I don't want this app bar because sometimes I want a very clean title, and I will just comment it out. I will delete it. And if that's the case, I'm going to refresh my app. And in this case, you do not have that app bar anymore, right? So all of these options are optional, and then you can basically decide what to use based on your needs. But then these are very standard layout that if you are following some kind of this design and using the Scaffold will really simplify the whole process. All right. So body obviously is the main part of the app, and then you can place anything you want. And previously we showed you if you want, you can add other text here. I can change the text. For example, I can have change this one into you have clicked button this many times. I refresh the app, and then you will see this one here is changed into clicked, right? And also I can add another text. I can say that this is my app name here at the top, and I rerun it, and then you will see the app name shows up, right? So that's how you can change the body part. So we'll talk more about the body part later on today. And then another one is the floating action button. So this is just a very material type of design that allows you to have this convenience button at the bottom corner, so people are very easy to will be very easy for people to click on it, and it's floating there, so that's why it's called floating action button. All right, so you can change the icon. We'll show you that if you change this one into message, refresh that, and then you can see a different icon shows up, right? But then if you see that I don't want this one button anymore, so that's fine. Let's actually comment out this part here. Right, let's try it again. If I rerun the app, and then this button is gone. All right, so the floating action button attributes is also provided by Scaffold. All right, so you can apply all of this and then decide what you want to do. All right, so let me bring it back. And then if you want to look at the documentation, and it shows you more things. Okay, it shows you like this one here tells you how do you change the looks like you got a background color. So right here, let's try it. So this is another attribute you can add. So let's say I want to add a background color. So I go to here and I get another attribute here called a background color. And then for the color, let's look at the documentation here. You use a colors dot something, right? So I will do colors dot. All right, so I can choose, you know, I will just do a gray color here, not the white one, right? So bring it back and then run my app. And the app has been changed into the gray color. So if this is what you want to change the whole background color for your body area, the main screen area, and then use this attribute. All right. So what else? And then this Scaffold here. Oh, this one also shows the little bottom area. Let's see what this one is called. It's called a bottom navigation bar. And you know, let's try this one. Let's just simply copy and paste this one here. Okay, copy and paste. It's called a bottom navigation bar. All right. So let's put it down here. Bottom navigation bar. Okay, you got a bottom navigation bar that this is the shape, this is the child, the height, right? So let's actually look at this attribute later, but this one here, we just want to show you that for the Scaffold, you do have some other options. And now if I run this app again, all right, so we got a little navigation bar here. And then if you want to increase the height, right now it's 50, if I do 100, and you'll be able to see that this one goes bigger, right? So that's how everything works out. So that is Scaffold. Okay, Scaffold will be a very easy type of way to start with your screen. That's why most of the code you see here, all right, so when you are in this build method, we will just return a Scaffold first, because this is very flexible. Even though you don't need a app title bar, even if you don't need a navigation or floating button, you can still start with the body, and that's a very standard way to build Flutter apps. All right, so from this day on, and we will highly recommend everyone just start with Scaffold and then build their thing from there. All right.